This is the Amp Hour podcast, recorded June 14th, 2022. Publicly Traded Hobby with Ben Jordan. Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Ben Jordan, once upon a time from Altium and once upon a time co-worker of Dave.
Yes.
And we have a lot of fun stories to tell, but from back in those days, boy, it was crazy.
Oh, it was nuts. How you doing, Ben? Wow, it's been a long time. How long's it been?
It's been a long time. Yeah.
It's been 10 years, right?
It has. It has.
Since I left Altium. How long did you stay at Altium after I left? Because you did the whole China move thing.
Well,
right?
Sort of and not really. So that was the first debacle we can talk about.
Why not? Okay, we'll get all the Altium stuff out of the way first. How about that? And then we'll move on to what you're doing these days and other stuff.
Sounds good. Yeah, that was my gosh, that was a fun time. So I did visit China, but I never actually moved there myself.
Right, okay. How did you get out of that? Because I thought they wanted everyone to move, didn't they?
They did, and they did ask me to go there.
Right.
But I knew my wife and kids, there's no way they were on board with that. And so, quite a few of the people had that response. They went home. Because here's the thing. I found myself in the chief HR guy's office at the time, Anand. And he's like,
oh, yes, Anand.
We have this plan. We need to go to China. We're going to relocate to China. The reasons we're doing it are this, that, and that, and this, and that. And which basically revolved around getting like massively scaling staff on the technical side to do IoT stuff. But, you know, he's like, we want a few people to go early and some can come later, and we want you to be one of the first.
Oh, goodness.
And help us sort of, get established. And
right.
I'm like, there's no way my wife's going to buy into this. I'm like, well,
yeah.
Well, I start asking all the questions. What kind of funding will there be to help me deal with the cost of schooling in a foreign nation where my children aren't citizens, so therefore they can't be taught in a local school, and not that I'd want them to be anyway.
Right.
Like, are there going to be any moving expense allowances? What's the salary situation? They said, we're thinking through all of that. We don't have any answers right now, but we want you to commit to this. I'm like, what? There's just no way.
People I was talking to at the time when all this went down, that was almost everyone's response was like, what? Because like most people we work with had, families, didn't they?
Yeah.
Well, there are a few that didn't, but, I think the majority did. And, you got to uproot your life.
Yeah. Most of us had very young children.
How old were your kids at the time?
My Delta, who's now 18.
Oh, good.
She just finished high school. It's unbelievable. Wow.
Oh, wow.
She was, I don't know, what year was this? So it's 2022. We're talking.
It was 2009, was it? No, it was 2011.
Yeah, it was.
Was it 2011?
Yeah, it was early 2011 when they started talking about this. And yeah, I mean, so she was 7 or 6.
Oh, wow. That's a hard age to do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and we'd been living in the States previous to that, and we had just moved back to Sydney.
That's right. Yep.
And that's the time I met you, because while I was living in the States was kind of the time you'd started working for Altium.
Yes, that's right.
I remember you coming over, I want to say 2007 or 8 for Embedded Systems Conference.
That's right.
You came over because we had this massive display.
Oh, stand. Oh, it was enormous. Oh, God. How many people? I think we had 50 people go over.
It was crazy, the cost.
Oh, my God. Actually, we had so many people, so many staff on the stand that customers couldn't get in.
Yes. It was like, and there were nanoboard 2s everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, did we? Is that the one that we had the industrial version with the stand and the SMS
Yeah,
thing? Was that the one?
that's it. People
Yeah, yeah,
and the gimmick at the stand was, oh, send a text message with these X and Y coordinates to this number, and it will
yep.
move the camera angle and change the color of the LEDs.
Right, that's right. Yep, that was a pretty cool
It
demo.
was
I
fun.
thought that was really
It
good.
was
Yeah,
fun, but
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
like all of those shows that we used to do for Embedded Systems Conference, that the technical people like yourself, Mark Hubble as well, who designed
Yes.
the whole stand because he was a mechanical guy.
Yeah, he's the one who did the housings as well. And we did a road trip together from the HQ all the way up there because all the stuff that we had, we had all the cases and everything, and it wouldn't and they were so fragile because they were like prototype fiberglass shells or something. I don't know what the exact material, it wasn't tough ABS or anything. It was like prototype, like hand sanded and everything. And they were so brittle that we couldn't risk transporting them. So we rented a van and we, carefully packed them up by hand and loaded them in the van. And we went for a road trip from, we were near San Diego down there. What was it?
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad. And then we did the road trip all the way up the coast to the, to the trade show.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was
fun times.
Oh, goodness.
So I think that's probably the first time I met you was actually when you were there to do that road trip.
Right. Oh, okay.
Because I was a FAE.
Yeah. Okay. Because I mostly remember you from back in Sydney. So when you came back.
Right. So 09.
Yep. So,
Nick tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, hey, I want you to come back to Sydney. You'll get to have influence over the product.
Right.
I want you close to the developers. Matt Schwager was sort of talking to me a lot as well.
Yep.
And for those who don't know, Nick was the founder of Altium. He's
founder and CEO.
Yeah, yep. He's been gone since 2012, I think. 2012, he got booted.
Yes, after he got booted in a hostile takeover from his friend Aram. Anyway, and the board. Once he had enough shares, that was a strategic blunder on his part, but I don't know how much we want to go into that. What is Nick doing these days? I haven't heard a peep out of him.
I haven't either.
Have you got any idea?
My understanding via somewhat reliable channels is, and by that I mean people who actually left when he was booted, there were some people who left to join him in a new venture.
Oh, did they? Okay. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, my understanding was he stayed in China and founded a new company just to focus on IoT frameworks and other things.
Oh,
and it was
interesting. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there might have been a hint of that. Yeah, so you don't know whatever happened to that?
As far as I know, he's still doing it. It's going, but his customers are largely Chinese manufacturers of consumer products for the domestic market there. So it's like, well,
oh, interesting.
I feel like I'm never going to see the results of any of that stuff because it's all contained.
It stays in China. Yeah, for those who don't know, there are tons of native markets like this, China, South Korea, places like that they're very, they have their own chips, they have their own industries, and they have their own markets and everything, and they'll only make and market within their own industry. There's meters that you can only buy in China, for example. Like, there's whole industries of test equipment that you can only buy in these countries, and they just don't sell them outside. It's crazy.
I think I visited 4 times in the 3 or 4 years that they actually did have a HQ there.
Yep.
When was it? It was really only a year and a half actually, but they made this massive move, and people like you, Dave, were given the choice. Yep. We want you in China, or you can find another job.
Oh, well, I was one of the half of the company. Was it half? Yeah, it was half of the company booted. Half of the company were given their own marching orders. I was one of them, so I didn't even get a choice. So.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think I remember that day, and I remember you emailing me or chatting me, just saying, in the internal IM, just saying, hey, I've just been let go. And I'm like, dude, now's the time to really put everything into, I forget what I said to you, but I just thought this is going to be great for you because I know you're going to just focus on YouTube,
Yep.
focus on the website and the forums, and look where you are now.
Yep. And look where I am now, still doing the same shit 10 years
Yeah,
later.
but
it's been great.
but
Yeah.
there's not
Yep.
one video. There's not one video where you're not smiling and laughing about something.
Oh yeah, I totally enjoy it. I know. Yeah,
Just
it's
think
great.
about that. Like, what if?
Yep.
Just what if? A thought experiment. What if every human in the developed world just decided to do what they were passionate about and figure out how to make a living from it along the way? How much happier would everyone be?
I know. It'd be great. But, like, I just still can't believe I actually make a living from just bumming around in my lab here and just doing what I would have done anyway, which is make videos, share content and stuff like that.
Well, that's the key.
That I've been doing my whole life.
I feel like, I've read so many self-help books and all this because I've been desperate to improve things for my whole life, like many of us, right?
Right.
And some of them are just parroting what someone else said. Some of them have legitimate good advice in them. But
it's hard to just like take it on board and follow it, because everyone's different. Everyone's got different circumstances and abilities and passions and, Yep.
Yeah, and fear stops people. And sometimes it takes a life event like getting laid off. And the exact same thing happened to me this year. In January, I was given notice by Autodesk. I'm like, okay.
Oh, okay. Yes. So you moved. So when did you move from Altium did you move directly from Altium to Autodesk?
I did. Yeah. It happened during COVID, like summer 2020, pretty much exactly 2 years ago.
So did they poach you or did you approach them?
They poached me.
Okay. Yep. Smart.
But I was really ready to do something else by then. Altium had grown to that level where, companies, they get successful and they get to a certain size where suddenly now we have to hire managers from somewhere else to come in and hopefully get us to the next level. And usually what that means is they'll make arbitrary changes because it's what they want to show that they're doing something. So so there's that. But then there's also, Bill and I have talked about this on our Oh
yes, for those who don't know, you do a podcast with Bill Hurd, former
Commodore
guest on the Amp Hour here, of Commodore fame, and I'll be on soon.
Yes,
so we'll all hang out in the next couple of weeks. Yep,
dude, that's going to be so fun. I can't wait.
Yep, excellent.
Yeah, so on our live stream, we call it the Coriolis effect, but it's just on Bill Hurd is the YouTube channel, 1L in Bill.
Yes. Which is always very confusing. Bill, come on, just change it to 2. Be consistent.
Yeah. So, we talked about this because the same thing happened at Commodore. Like, they got so big, they got so popular, they were really successful, and then suddenly it's like the founder of the company wants to retire. So what do? You either sell it or you employ new management to take over.
And you turn it into Dilbert land.
It totally became Dilbert land because they hired some guy who was previously the VP or leader for the IBM PC Junior.
Yep.
And he came on and was managing Commodore Amiga stuff.
Right.
And, I don't know all the details, but things like that happen. And, technically on paper, the people have a good resume, but they start making changes. It doesn't always happen like this, and I'm not saying all of Commodore failed because of one guy. It's a combination, right? It's always a combination.
Sure.
But basically, decisions are made based on how they did something at their old company, not. And it's like,
you're right.
But this isn't that company, and it's not that product, and it's not that customer.
Right.
Altium's they're doing okay, but they've kind of plateaued a bit. And I feel like some of it's to do with this, but some of it's also like I saw people come in from, say, Henry Potts came in from Mentor.
Interesting.
And Henry's very clever and also very much a bulldog. And there's other people came from SolidWorks and Dassault.
Wow, they brought them all in. That's interesting.
Like I look at any one of the high-level management they brought in, and they're all very talented, clever, experienced people. And I wouldn't say they're bad in anyway, but it changed the culture of the company. And companies, they get this size where, okay, now you're a specialist.
Right.
So you swim in your lane and you don't do these other things you used to do. I can't do that. I turned 47 in December of 2021.
Right.
And after my 47th birthday was diagnosed with ADHD. And I'm like,
oh, what? Really?
Far out. That's why I struggled in high school.
I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was a thing to get diagnosed lately for something like that. That's interesting.
It is a thing. That's a whole other story for the second beer. But
right. Okay. No worries.
Because, that involves relationships, marriage, a whole lot of things. But
oh, yeah, right.
But the point is, I did discover that, and I'm like, bloody hell, that's why I hated school so much.
Right.
And I realized that's why Altium was able to keep me for 16 years. Because Matt Schwager was my boss in most of the roles I had. And Matt knew me well enough somehow innately to know about every 18 months to 2 years, I need to change Ben's title and responsibilities.
Right.
And they let me do a bit of everything. If I felt like writing an article or recording a video, they let me do it. If I felt like
it's cool.
If I felt like going to PCB West and presenting a paper and doing a talk, they let me do it.
Yep.
But by 2016, 2017, I started being inserted under other mid-level managers who are like wanting to control what I was spending time on and limit my freedoms to do these different things. I'm like, I can't, I literally was, I didn't know it at the time, but after seeing therapists and things and realizing and looking back,
oh, wow,
I was depressed for several years.
Wow. That's tough.
Yeah. I hated life.
Right.
I went through all the pain and trouble of migrating my family.
Yeah.
I like doing a lot of the things I do. I like making content as well, like you.
Yeah, no, you're so passionate. See, I wouldn't have guessed all this.
I like all that. Yeah, well, it's different when you're facing a camera and you've got to get something done. And I'm like, but where's, like, I've seen this company go from $26 million revenue to almost 200. And a share price in the penny dreadfuls.
10 cents. Oh, God, I could have bought it 10 cents.
I remember.
Why didn't I?
Remember that day we were having lunch in the cafeteria in Sydney? And the share price that day was 5 cents. And we were all saying...
Oh, was it 5?
It was 5.
Yeah.
It was
5.
Right around the time Morphic was acquired. And we're all saying, man, if I just had $100,000 right now, I'd just buy tons of stock.
I know, because it was less than the cash value. The company had more cash in the bank than the entire share price was worth, like the entire market capitalization, and the company had no debt. It was like it couldn't go lower.
I know,
like it literally couldn't go lower.
Wow. Unbelievable.
And I still didn't buy. But back then Nick was still running the company and the whole China move. And then, when I thought about buying, it was like the China move thing. And I thought, oh no, they're just going to drive the company into the ground. And
yeah, it could have gone either way.
It could have gone either way, but oh geez, it was like, it was less than cash value. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was the buy of a lifetime. It was just, and now it's like, for those who don't know, now it went up to peaked at like $45 or something. I think it's back down to like 30 or under or something, but still. Oh
man. And then
the gains are incredible.
It's ridiculous. So all of that to say, that's why I lasted there for 16 years, because Matt Schwager was a good boss and he knew I needed, he knew I thrived on variety. So, but the moment he wasn't my manager anymore,
then it all went to crap, huh?
I had someone as a boss for a couple of years there. It was like, we could not agree on anything. It got so bad. I'm like, just kill me now. God. So, and then went back to marketing, did some stuff for Lawrence. That was kind of cool. Lawrence is a good guy for the most part. If you're listening, Lawrence, I do still love you a little bit.
Don't burn those bridges.
I knew I needed to change. I needed to do.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Same with everyone.
So and right around that time, like COVID, working from home, I'm like, this is pretty cool. Doing road trips with the family in that summer.
Yeah. Nice.
And I got pinged by one of the leading product managers at Autodesk for Fusion 360. I'm like, I could get behind that. That's a pretty cool product.
Right.
And I had other friends who'd previously been at Altium who were on that team, like Matt Bergeron, Sam Sattel.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah.
Andy Ball, who, God rest his soul, passed away.
Oh, really?
In October of 2020. Not from COVID. We still don't know. We still don't know. It was a sudden thing, like heart attack or something.
Okay. Gosh.
I don't know if you ever got to meet him. He was one of the PCAD developers.
Yes, I think, yeah.
Super cool guy.
Yes, I do remember him.
Super cool guy. I really miss him.
Wow.
But, things like that happen. Things like COVID, losing friends.
Absolutely.
And you reevaluate life, right? And your choices. You think, what the hell am I doing giving the best hours of every day to allow, this is funny, it goes back to our last Twitter conversation, to allow some other guy to drive a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, boy. My, because I was only at Altium I was only there 4 years, which, like, in the scheme of other people that have worked there, because most had worked, a lot had worked there from, like, the old Tasmanian days.
Oh, yeah.
That was just, like, nuts. Because for those who don't know the history of Altium, Nick Martin was at the University of Tasmania. Was he a student or working there?
He was. I think it was. My understanding is he was working there as a lab tech.
Right, something like, yeah, that rings a bell. And so he was working there and he decided to write his own CAD program, which is Protel at the time, which was Protel Auto Tracks.
Right.
Well, no. Was it Easy Track? Did it start out as Easy Tracks or?
I think the very first version, I don't know what it was called exactly. I think it was just called Protel. And then later on they...
Right.
Yeah, but I could be wrong.
They added the Auto Tracks thing and,
Yeah, so he built that from 83 to 85.
Yes, and wrote it in Turbo Pascal.
Yes, Turbo Pascal.
And when you left, were they still using Delphi for part of it?
Yes.
Or had, they were.
And
okay.
To my knowledge, they still are for some parts.
They still are using, are they the only company left in the world using Delphi? Oh my goodness!
No, Delphi keeps getting developed, but here's the deal:
really?
It's primarily used by banks.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Why is that? That's just a cultural, historical thing.
I think it's historical, and the reason is Turbo Pascal and then Delphi as a follow-on, which was the Windowsized drag and drop sort of. It's
right. Yes.
It has an exceedingly accurate fixed point math library, and banks love that.
Oh, banks, they want every last cent. They don't want little digits left over.
Yeah, they want very careful rounding algorithms, which is ironic because the database in the Altium PCB editor has rounding errors.
Yes, it does.
Isn't that funny?
Oh, goodness. That is hilarious. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. And so they're still using it, but they did move part of it to C++ or something, didn't they? That was
C#.
I thought they were in the C#, right. I thought they were in the process of transferring it, but they're still using some of it. Is Delphi.
Yeah, I think great. Like there's just a multi-year, because if you have 4 or 6 million lines of code, it's going to take some time to redo everything in a different language.
Yeah. Oh, it's nuts. Yep. Yeah. And it was practically impossible to find anyone when they were hiring programmers. You couldn't find anyone with Delphi experience. It's like you that wasn't even a job requirement, really. It's like, you haven't heard of Delphi? Fine. Are you a good and then they'd actually test you, test your skills as a programmer, and then you go, yep, good enough. You can learn Delphi. And
then people go, geez, what have I done? Do you remember a guy? Well, so back when you and I were in Sydney, like I was there mid 2009 to mid 2011.
Yep.
I should talk more like the Aussie that I am. Mid 2011.
Yep.
And in that time, there was this really, really shit hot embedded developer guy, Ben. I want to say, what was his last name? Starts with L.
Oh, he was. Oh God, yes.
He was writing drivers and firmware for the JTAG adapter.
He was the one.
Not Ben Wells. Ben Wells was in charge of that team, and he was also amazing.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say Ben Wells is the one who hired me, and I vividly remember my first interview there. I had several, but my first interview was with Ben Wells, and I went into his office, and he's just got his feet up on the desk. He's got bare feet, and he's got, like,
Yeah.
And I thought, this is a cool company, right? This is like, yep. And he eventually moved to Google. I don't know if he's still there.
I believe he is.
Hi, Ben.
Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Ben.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought that was a cool company. This guy's just, shorts and bare feet.
Yep.
Walking around the office, I thought,
we're in the Northern Beaches, and
it's the Northern Beaches of Sydney.
You can imagine a bunch of Aussies. Some of them were people who'd immigrated to Australia, but they all lived in the Northern Beaches and surfed.
Yep.
And they were brilliant software people.
Oh, everyone at Altium was the top notch.
Yeah.
I've never worked at a company where everyone there knew what they were doing.
Right.
Like
that was something.
amazing.
I think that was actually a kick-ass secret weapon skill that Nick Martin had, and I don't know if he even knew that was his thing, but he had an ability to sniff out good people.
Yes. Yep. And good, passionate people as well. Yeah. You just, if you come in and you were the stiff upper lip management, strict, rigid type, then you were not. No, you wouldn't even make it through the first the first interview. So, yeah. Yeah, I just found that remarkable. It was absolutely incredible. Like, because I used to come from big, companies that work on, big military stuff, and I don't want to say half of the people there, but it was like they were useless. They were like, they couldn't tie their own shoelaces. I don't know how they got a job, but somehow they, given positions of, and somehow things got done. But yeah, very different at Altium.
Yeah, that was something super cool, and I think maybe that was something I'd seen, in my later years there when I got depressed. Perhaps that was one of the things I could see was changing. That there were some really good people coming in from outside, but there were also some people who were just kind of had no wind in their sails, let's say. And frankly, for me,
that's very different.
Yeah, for me personally, it started making me one of those people. I'm like, I don't know if I want to get out of bed and go here in the morning, So,
right, yeah, no, that's when you got to pack your bags and go. Yep. Totally.
So,
my memory of Altium is that it was like I was just stunned by the lack of management, so to speak. It was just like it was a very flat organization. Like it was like it's almost as if I didn't have a manager. I was just expected to do stuff, and I'd deal with Nick actually directly. It wasn't uncommon for him to come around to your desk and say, work on this, and then you just drop everything you did and you worked on this. Right. And it was like, or you came in the morning. Did you ever have this? You came in the morning and then you discovered that at 2 a.m. in the morning, Nick had changed your code and checked it in. It was like,
yep.
That was hilarious. It was like, oh my goodness.
I like to call that, it's the entrepreneur / startup business model. And he carried that on for 20 years.
For 20 years, I know.
It just kept working. At least to build the product it did. Maybe not to grow the revenue.
Well, yes, because building the company.
Yeah.
Well, because I was always of the opinion that to Nick, Altium was just like and Protel / Altium was just like a hobby company for him. He didn't really care if it made huge amounts of money because the decisions they were making weren't to my mind weren't based on good, what's best for the business, or it certainly didn't work out that way anyway.
Yeah, I felt like he still had a very deep product focus, and I kind of felt the same way. Yeah, I often thought this is a publicly traded hobby.
Yes, right. A publicly traded hobby. Maybe that could be the title for today's show, publicly traded hobby. Oh, yes, I like that one. Okay, publicly traded hobby.
The interesting thing was, for all the technical people that were there, myself included, that was inspirational. And I actually,
Oh, yeah, I know. It was great. It was.
I could put my shoulders into that and push, because I'm like,
Yeah.
this is cool what we're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe from the development standpoint, it should have been kept that way. But perhaps from a business standpoint, let some other operations person do that, and
Right.
but it all changed, and then.
Well, a friend of mine who actually brought me over to Altium, because most of the...
That's Steve Howell.
No, that wasn't Steve Howell,
really?
actually. It was another one who shall remain nameless
Okay.
in the hardware
Okay.
team. He didn't last there long. But yeah, like three of the four guys from the hardware team, we were all ex-Tally's Surcell guys from, we were all from the same company. So we all ended up on the hardware team.
So maybe it was you who brought Steve Howell over then.
No, I think, no, Steve was the first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was the first one to come over, and then he brought over this other guy, and then he brought me in. So
okay.
That's how we formed the hardware team. But he didn't last long because he's a really good friend of mine, really, really great technical guy, but he was more, he came wearing a tie every day and, and like he was more,
corporate.
really strict corporate, like really serious, focused kind of guy, which is what you want in a lot of, companies and stuff. And he thought, what, a $4,000 development board? This is ridiculous, and he lasted like 9 months, 6 months or something. I'm not sure how long he lasted, but yeah, he had words with management did not like that. He didn't like that it was a $4,000 development board. And I was totally on board, right? I went, yeah, like $4,000 development board.
Who's going to spend that?
I don't think anyone's going to. I don't think anyone's going to buy this. But I kept my mouth shut, whereas he didn't, and they eventually, made it difficult for him, and he left.
I think I know who that was, but I won't say his name. We'll follow up after and see if I'm right.
Anyway, he's a very good friend of mine. We might actually get him on the Amp Hour one time. Anyway, very good technical guy. But yeah, he wasn't the fit. Basically, if you wanted to work it out to him, you had to believe in the vision.
Yeah,
and that was you either bought into the vision or you didn't. And if you didn't, you were out.
That's how it was.
Kind of,
totally.
So yep. But they eventually learnt. For those who don't know, the $4,000 development board didn't sell. It was very cool. It was great to show off and demo, and it was brilliant tech.
It is.
But especially the way it integrated with the software, you could actually plug in the modules and it auto detect them via one wire serial numbers and stuff, and then it'd pull in the FPGA stuff. I've never seen an FPGA system that was well ahead of its time.
It was bloody brilliant.
It was, it was really plug and play stuff. It was amazing. But yeah, the $4,000 board didn't sell, so they eventually came out with a $300 version, which sold a lot better.
They sold like hotcakes because...
Yes. I don't know. So do you know how many of those were eventually sold? Because that was...
I think that final Chinese production runs went over 4,000.
Right, yeah, because I went over to China, went over to Shanghai to set up the factory to make those units.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And that wasn't too long after that the whole China move thing happened, and yep, I was out of there. But
that's something I'll probably want to ask you about, some of the design aspects of that when you join me and Bill, because I still have some of those boards. Yep. I still play with them every now and then and talk about them a little bit.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've still got one somewhere.
And there's some things in it that I was just like, why did we do it that way? And it would be cool to ask you and get your input, because you were part of the team, right?
Yep, I was part of the team that worked on it. Yep, so we can go through that.
I have a super rare system on module that Steve Howell gave me.
Oh, really? Yeah, because he worked on lots of weird, and you can see a lot of his stuff on his website. If you haven't, we've actually mentioned his website a couple of months back.
Apple Logic,
and he that's yes. I think it's Apple Logic, although he might have a personal one as well. And it documents all his projects he's worked on. And we gave it as a stellar example of how to document your work so that you can show it off to people.
Oh, it's
And
bloody brilliant.
Yeah, it's great. Anyway, yeah, he worked on lots of, weird oddball boards and stuff like that.
It is applelogic.org.
Right, applelogic.org.
So, yeah, don't look for applelogic.com.
Right.
And I think he does have another one that's more like his resume. That's SRKH Designs or something.
Yes, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
SRKH. And worked on lots of weird and wonderful boards. And and there was a portable version. There was a portable version of the Nano board as well. There was like a handheld version.
That was
and
crazy.
There was so he worked on the handheld version. I did the industrial version as well as a version of the Nano board too. Yeah, it was. We just had all these different variants. So for those who don't know, the vision was that, and I would love to get your opinion on this. The vision was that electronics in the future was going to be all modular. Like, why would you want to design your own custom PCB? Why lay out a power supply when like 10 million other designers have already laid out power supplies? It doesn't make sense. You just drop in this module, including the layout, and everything's done for you. So everything would be modular. And that's when Altium famously had this campaign, turning the world of electronics upside down, where they made this is a PCB company, and they made the PCB tool optional extra. So what you bought the Nano board. Yeah, this was in the days of the $4,000 Nano board. You bought the $4,000 Nano board, you'd get all the FPGA stuff, and you'd get all the all the embedded software stuff, but you wouldn't get the PCB module.
Yeah, it was funny. What was that?
Hilarious.
They came up with that phrase. The innovation station is what they called
Innovation Station, yes.
And Marty Hauff did a YouTube video rapping about it.
Oh, rapping! Yes. Oh, didn't they do some cringy videos?
Oh man, it was fun. It was funny but cringe.
Yeah, I know. It was funny, but it was so cringe.
The innovation rap. It's still there. Yeah, I think it's still there.
Oh, it's still there? Okay, I'll have to try and find it, link it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, it was modular. The future would be modular, and you wouldn't have to design anything. You just drag and drop things and put it in, and you would use off-the-shelf modules. You'd be, all these little hardware Internet of Things modules. You'd just slap them together. Bingo, you've developed your product. And the future was of course, they bet the company on this.
Yep.
I think probably a little bit before you joined, or when you joined in the early to mid 2000s, they bet that everything was going to be inside an FPGA. Like FPGAs were the future, and that was, that was the end of that. Like and it just didn't pan out because FPGAs are too expensive, they're too power hungry, they're et cetera, et cetera. And it just didn't pan out.
You know what's funny though?
Modular. Yeah.
I've just yesterday or the day before had a phone call with a friend in the Altium user community.
Yeah.
Who used to do not just board design, but he worked for a medical device company, and they actually did use the whole FPGA thing. They were one of the few Altium companies that embraced the whole paradigm and said, we'll design the board and we'll use FPGAs because they have low volume, high value products. That's where you want to use them,
course. Right? Yeah, totally.
And it's funny. He got in touch with me by sending me a LinkedIn message saying, I could really use an FPGA with a soft-core processor right about now because nothing's available in the supply chain.
Yes. Oh God. Oh, the supply chain. So what's your thoughts on the whole modular electronics thing? So did you think it was ever going to work? Because I knew from day one. I had even debated people on the old Usenet forums like a decade before that about modular. Everyone had these ideas for everything's going to be modular, and modular systems, and it just, and there'd be no need for true custom anymore. And it was like, nah, as we say here.
I agree with you for the most part. I think the dream certainly has not died. There are still, and even Altium.
Oh, there's still, yeah.
Even Altium, you look at, they acquired the company Gumsticks.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, actually, it's not.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Gumsticks.
Okay.
So it's funny, and this closes a circle too, because back in those days when you and Steve and we were all in the Sydney headquarters, during that time,
Yeah.
it was actually the Gumsticks modules, and that was a little company out of Vancouver, Canada, and they made these little processor modules that were like, and that they were called Gumsticks because they were kind of the size of a gum stick, the board.
Right. Yes, one of those little. Yep.
Yeah, and they had a TI Stellaris processor on them, and a bunch of other things, and it was a whole complete computer system on it was a system on module, and you could plug it into your own carrier board, and it
Right.
and some of those had been used by the team in Sydney at Altium, and it inspired them. Oh, we can make modules like this just with an FPGA on them. So that's why Steve went and developed those SOM modules. But
yes, that's right.
But it's funny. Some years later, right around 2018, I think, they acquired Gumsticks because Gumsticks had developed an online website called Geppetto, where you could literally do that. You could grab modules.
Yes. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I want a Stellaris, or maybe you don't such high-end processor. Maybe it's going to be a Arduino equivalent. Grab that, drag and drop it onto the canvas. Okay, now what IOs do I need? Oh, I need this many analog inputs. Okay, I need this many PWM outputs. Whatever it is, you drag and drop it all onto a canvas, and then you go into the GUI in the website and configure how everything connects up. And then you specify in a very crude way what size board you want. And all of these things are kind of bits of a printed circuit board, and you have to get them to fit. And then you place an order, you pay a $2,000 NRE fee, and the Oompa Loompas go to work, and 2 weeks later you get the board on your doorstep ready to develop your software on it.
Yeah, nice.
And that system works, but it's still very niche-y. I mean,
it is very niche. Yeah, totally.
And I don't think so. So the vision's there to make things modular and sort of automate stuff. And Altium's trying to do that, and they're trying to do a bunch of things. But and they rolled that into what was Upverter. So now their whole Upverter branding and marketing is about. It's really Gumsticks Geppetto.
Got it.
So they're trying to do it just in a different way.
Yep. And it's still only going to be niche though, right?
I think so, because the cost, like, you don't get to control much about the board shape. You don't get to really optimize the layout. If you're gonna make something that's going to be an awesome product, think about how much hours you put into making the board just right.
Oh yeah, and the custom case and the custom board to go in the custom case and all the other, custom things that go along with a product. You can't do that with modular stuff, really. It just doesn't work. So, yeah.
Now that tech might get better and improve over time, but I don't think it's ever going to completely replace full custom board design.
No, totally. But Altium bet the farm on that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work, unfortunately. What's the current price of Altium doing? Because they just sent out a release that they're going to up the prices due to inflation.
Yeah.
Just sorry, but due to inflation, we're going to up the price. What was because I haven't looked at prices of Altium for a heck of a long time.
Well, I don't know what the current list price is for a full perpetual license.
Right.
But I do know I did receive a quote for subscription in the email.
Yeah.
And it had gone up from $18.95 for a year to $19.95 for a year.
Okay, so the maintenance is going up, yeah.
But then the email said the price of this is going up. So I'm like, wait a second. Maybe I missed the previous price increase.
Yeah.
Because this is already $100 more for a year of maintenance than what I thought it was. So,
oh boy.
If that's any indication.
Right. Were you in Sydney at the time? I know we were still at the old headquarters. We were still at the old French's Forest. Sorry, where was the old headquarters? We were still in the old building. Anyway,
It was French's Forest, yeah.
what it was. Okay, yes. Yeah, because then we moved to Belrose. Yes.
Yep.
So we were in the French's Forest, and I can vividly remember Nick Martin, the CEO, like gathering everyone together. We were in the kitchen, and he said, "Right, we've decided to drop the price of our product by 80%. We are," and his almost an exact quote is, "We are burning our bridges. We can't go back to high price software." So I think it was like $10,000 the software was at the time,
Yeah.
and we dropped it to $2,000 overnight. And it was like, this is now the new price. Everyone pays $2,000 and that's it. And yeah, we're burning our bridges. We can't go back. And like there were a lot of customers who were like, "But I just paid $8,000. Like, what?
Yeah, man.
There were a lot of pissed off customers. Oh boy,
that
was nuts.
That was a heyday for Mentor Graphics. Yeah, it was in response to the GFC. Nick's like, "No, we're," and in many ways, I could see why he did it. Like, I got it.
Right.
Like,
Oh yeah, no, totally. Yep. Like we were going for volume. We're going to own the market. We're going to destroy everyone else. And like, and the company, like we said, had no debt. Like the company could do pretty much anything it wanted, right?
yeah,
And they thought they'd make it up in volume and stuff like that. But I think it lasted like 9 months before the prices went back to normal.
yeah. I think that coincided with firing a VP of sales in the States as well.
Well, this and the CEO at the time, who was it?
Kayvon?
No, it was she was
the president, Emma LaRusso.
Emma LaRusso, yeah. Then she went off to form her own company after that. But yeah, I think she was mortified that actually she was not on board with that. So I think that's why she was pushed out.
Possibly. I think
Yeah.
most other management were not on board, but they were like, "Well, I'm not going to say anything. We'll just see what happens."
Yeah, well, see, that's how it worked, because she was, I think, pretty sure she was the CEO at the time, and Nick was, but Nick still ran the company. He was the major shareholder. It was still his company, so he, like she kind of like didn't really have a choice,
Yeah.
but to go along with his vision of this new low cost software, $2,000 for everything. And I thought, oh, geez, that's a ballsy move. And it could actually work. Everyone could pile up, everyone wanted Altium, but, it was like $8,000. It was pretty pricey, but $2,000, that was like.
That means an individual who maybe is out of work
Exactly.
in the GFC could have hope to be doing some contract stuff, right? And that's the thinking.
Exactly. That was the thing. Yeah. So
But software companies now are like, the only way to do that is put them on a subscription and make them pay monthly or pay per use.
Yep.
Which
that's right.
A lot of people still don't like that model,
Yeah.
Like, don't quite trust it.
What's your opinion on that? Would you rather pay a big amount up front and know that you own it, or would you like to be on a subscription?
If it's my daily driver CAD software, I want the option of perpetual.
Yep, to buy it.
I want both options.
Yep.
I'd rather pay more and just know that it's never going to get turned off.
Know that you own the tool. Yep. And the good thing about PCB tools is that you don't need to upgrade it. If you've got a working PCB tool, it's still going to work in 10 years' time.
Yep.
As long as, operating systems don't change or, something, right? It's still going to be the same valuable tool. You don't need to upgrade.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Of course, you'll be enticed to by all the fancy features they keep
all
adding.
The fancy features, and but all the fancy new bugs. And, and I mean, doesn't Altium still have bugs that have been in there for like 20 years back when I was using them back in, Protel for Windows 2.8?
Most likely. I'd say so.
Yep.
There's always a few.
It's just, crazy. I can remember, back when I was using that, I was working at a company using, version 2.8, I think, and I was documenting dozens of bugs, and I was sending them off to Altium, and they just never got fixed, or some of them might, if they're important enough. But,
There's another aspect to all of this, though, that's kind of something people don't really talk about much, and it's really important. It's sometimes things disappear. And like they'll
yes, in what
well, they'll take,
what sort of way are you going for here?
Well, they'll take things out of it, and it's like, wait,
feature, right?
Damn well, tell me I'm the only person who knew about that thing and used it daily, and now or really relied on it.
Yep.
They did this analysis probably around 2016, where they started really deeply analyzing analytics of what areas of the software were in use most frequently.
Right, interesting. And they could get that data? Were they getting the data from people, like...
Just anonymously, like gathering analytics.
Yep.
But the danger of that, and I expressed my opinion of this at the time, and they assured me, oh, it's okay, like we back it up with actual interviews and this and that.
Right.
I'm like, you should also interview people who are expert users and know all of the features, not just the noobs, and not people just coming from Mentor or Cadence.
Right.
Because you end up trying to build your competitor's product instead of something that's better.
Exactly.
But the risk of analytics is you see these areas of the software or these commands or features that it appears like no one ever touches them.
Right.
And so you think, well, maybe we could just get rid of that and then we don't have to maintain it anymore.
Yep.
And then what happens to me personally, even while I was still working at the company, I'm like,
oh no,
wait a second. I'm doing a reference design to support a video I'm trying to make. And this thing that I expect to find in the software has gone.
Oh no.
What the hell are you doing?
No.
Like, I know 99% of the users don't use this according to your analytics, but they may only use this once a year or once every 3 years. But when they use it, they really need it.
You need it. Oh,
don't remove things. Don't move my cheese.
Oh my. Did Altium make you use the internal versions every day? Because they used to build a new version like every day or every 2 days.
Oh, yeah.
And that, as the hardware group, because we were actually doing real boards, we were trying to get real product finished.
Yeah.
And they said, no, you have to use the latest build version every day so that we know what bugs, and like if a build version is good, or not. And they want us to do that while we're trying to do a real board, like real work and stuff.
Oh, and meet the deadline.
We just secretly between us all agreed on one version that we thought was stable, and we just all used that. Like we did play around with the daily builds, but we wouldn't do any serious work on it because it would just hinder your ability to actually get the job done.
Yeah.
So yep.
For the jobs I had at Altium, I was never forced to use it. I generally chose to, but it did eat up a lot of extra time.
Yep. Yes, it did. But no, I can understand them wanting that because you have to eat your own dog food, as they say,
Yeah.
So, it's you've got to try it out. But the amazing thing was, though, I never, ever lost work, though. Like, there'd be like annoying bugs in the daily build version that'd stop you doing something, but I never got a corrupted file. Ever. I thought that was my fear, is that, oh no, I'm swapping versions every single day. My files are just going to be corrupted and they won't be compatible. But no, that was, I think the best thing about Altium was the file compatibility. It just worked.
Yeah.
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah. Actually,
and it was backward and forward compatible. It was just, I don't know how they did it.
Yeah, that was that was genius engineering on the software team's part. I never had that problem myself. And I managed technical support for North America from, I want to say, 2011 to 2013.
Right.
I had a team of AEs answering calls, helping customers solve problems. And almost daily, someone would call up and say, oh, I've lost data.
Really?
But it was never a corrupt file. It was...
What was it?
I cannot remember one situation where it wasn't ultimately user error.
Ah, interesting. Yep.
But however, it's not always their fault. There were many. There was one situation. This is an interesting story, where someone called up and he was threatening to sue us.
Yeah.
This happened pretty often, right?
Okay.
Part of having a CAD software business, people want to sue you. So this guy, and I felt for the guy, he'd gotten through to one of the junior support staff, and she was kind of put her hand up for help immediately because this guy was threatening lawsuits and angry.
Wow.
And I came over, put him on speaker, and I'm like, "What? explain what's happened to me. Tell me what's the problem. He's like, it's your library. And I'm like, ooh, here we go. This is why seasoned PCB designers don't use other people's libraries.
That's it. Yeah. Okay. What was there an error in 1,000-pin FPGA?
I've seen those too. I've seen actual errors in the footprints, like incorrect pin mapping, things like that.
Yeah.
But this case, it's like I placed this 0603 resistor, and look, it's like an eighth of the size of the other 0603. And I'm like, wait a second, let me look at that. Where did that come from? He's like, I placed it from your vault thing. And I'm like, that's an 06. And his problem was he'd made prototype boards and he'd ordered parts.
Oh, okay, right.
So these 0603 resistors, which in metric is, what is it? It's 1608.
Oh, no. And he goofed the imperial metric version.
Like, oh, actually, that's an 0201. That's not an 0603. It's 0.6 by 0.3 millimeters. It's not an 0603. It's an 0201. And that 0603 in parentheses in our library means metric.
Yes. Oh, my God. And he threatened to sue over that.
I know. And he's like, oh,
that was great.
Okay. And I'm like, I get that it's confusing, but that's our naming convention.
Yeah.
You know, if we can give you a discount on your subscription or anything else to make you feel better, I'll tell the salespeople to do that. And he was was okay. But it was always situations like that where people, if people had loss, sometimes a crash would cause loss of work. That's going to happen because you didn't get to save.
Yes, yeah, of course.
And that happened all the time. It's like, and I lost my whole day. Or even more than a day. It's like, wait, you left it powered up. You left Windows on overnight.
Yeah.
Walked away. You worked for 3 days on this board, but you didn't save in that.
Save it? I know. No. I am one of those compulsive savers. I've got this I've got this macro finger that just automatically saves it like every minute.
Control S.
Like I Control S. Like I do it without even thinking about it.
Yep.
You know, it's just like boom, boom, boom. You know,
it's like you always leave your phone, your keys, and your wallet together, no matter where you are. They're always together. They're either all together in your pockets, or they're all together on your nightstand, or they're all together in a drawer in your kitchen. But wherever they are, they're all together all the time. These are the habits you must form.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. To actually survive in this world. Yep. Yes, you must. Just to survive in the CAD world, you must save religiously.
Literally.
It's
like that joke. That joke someone said to me years ago. It's like the whole computer system in heaven was based on Windows, so it got a B-side, blue screen of death.
Death, yeah.
And Jesus was the only happy one there because why? Jesus saves.
Jesus. Oh, yes, I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll pay that. It's pretty good. Speaking of lawsuits, do you remember the one way back? There was one guy, he's a one-man band, and he actually took the name Autotrax, which was the original version of Protel, and he actually made his own CAD PCB software. I think you can still buy it.
Yep.
And he called it Autotrax. And because Altium let the trademark on that name lapse, and he said, and Altium tried to, I don't know if we tried to sue him or not at the time, but we sort of like threatened him, and he went, well, you actually don't own the trademark on it, so ha.
Yeah.
And he
I remember that.
Yeah.
He eventually renamed it Autotrax Dex.
Autotrax Dex, that's right, but he still had Autotrax in the name.
Someone of Slovak background based on his name in the UK, and the product kind of had a good feature list, but I tried it out before I even worked at Altium.
Yeah, I tried it out once, and it was you could kind of maybe do the job with it, but it wasn't polished, certainly.
Yeah,
but it was very impressive for one guy having wrote it.
Mammoth effort for one developer.
Huge effort. Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, I had Wikipedia wars over that as well when I was at Altium.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
trying to go back and edit
Wikipedia.
wikis and getting my edits disputed by
Oh,
him,
goodness.
and then
Yep.
disputing back and saying, and I just gave up.
Yeah. I think Altium just gave up in the end. They go, oh, go and do whatever you want. We don't care. You're a one-man band. I think that's what happened.
I don't think he really makes much of a living from it. So.
Oh, no. I think he sells a few dozen copies a year or something still. Something like that. I'm sure he has his own little loyal, customer base. Yeah, good on him.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough of the. We just spent an hour on Altium hunting. Of course we did.
Yeah.
But what are you doing these days? You're no longer at Autodesk.
Yeah, I felt the shackles come off and realized I need to be YouTubing. I need to be.
Yep.
So another whole side of my life is for my whole life since I was 12. I've played guitar.
Yep, you're a muso. Yes.
And I've played guitar a lot, believe it or not, mainly church. But what that means is I have to produce a lot of different sounds for different songs written by different people all around the world.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of like being in a cover band, right?
Right.
And for about the last 10 years, I've been using only software or, digital signal processing systems I got tired of having a broken back from carrying heavy valve guitar amps, which sound amazing, but you get one sound. And
got it.
Like early companies like Line 6 hit the market in the late 90s with their emulations, and they weren't very good then, but they got better and better and better and better. And I just got by I want to say 2011 when I moved. So when Altium moved everyone else to Shanghai or laid people off, I got to move back to the US and be part of
you're so lucky. Yep.
Yeah. So I've been.
They're now headquartered in the US now, aren't they?
Yes, La Jolla.
How long did they last in China? Like, not even 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe 18 months or something.
Yeah, something, and then they decided. And then I think didn't all of the US defense, and government contractors going, well, you're now we now deem you to be a Chinese company, therefore we're not going to use you anymore. Yep. Either you move, or was that the reason for the move? Was that the main reason?
That was certainly a reason, and a very big one.
Oh, huge, yeah.
And not just the military or government departments, but their contractors and the contractors.
Yes. And it flows down the pipeline.
Tons of Mentor had a field day. They're like, they sold a lot of pads. They sold a lot of pads to Altium customers.
Oh.
When Altium moved to Shanghai. Like, they don't even care about PCB. So, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
They're doing that IoT thing. They don't care about you. Use pads. And at the same time, PCAD was killed as well. So they lost a bunch of PCAD customers.
Right.
Because PCAD was end of life. So, yeah. But
wow.
Since about 2011 or 2012, I've played guitar only through essentially software. And I got really, really good at replicating sounds of other guitarists. And so the goal of one of my YouTube channels is to share my knowledge on that. Excellent. And just but it's hard making time to make videos regularly. I know you know how that goes.
Oh yeah, I know how that is.
But I'm very passionate about that. I've got my Schematica channel as well, which is at the moment it's just Altium tips and tricks.
Nice.
And I'm considering other avenues of income. I've been doing a little bit of contracting work, like actual design work.
Yep.
And so all of that, it sounds like I'm a scatterbrain, probably because I am, but I like doing a bit of everything. So all of that comes under my business, Jordan DSP.
JordanDSP.com, which we'll link in. And you're on the Twitters as well?
Yeah, at Jordanite with a YTE at the end.
Yep, we'll link that one in too if you want to follow Ben.
Yeah, so I'm looking at writing I'm looking at writing as a paid writer as well. Like just a bunch of different things.
Oh, okay, right. So if anyone out there needs design consulting work, especially Altium or Autodesk based stuff.
So, well, let's put it this way. Yeah. So I'm an expert at Altium.
Oh, obviously.
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty darn good with Autodesk Fusion 360.
Yep.
Even mainly on the MCAD side, honestly. But it also has schematic and PCB in it.
Great skill to have is the combined PCB and mechanical. See, I don't do the mechanical CAD thing. I suck at it. And that's a lack of, I should work on that.
It's just time. It's just you invest
time.
Oh,
yeah, exactly. It's a time thing. Yeah.
I also do a Libre expert. I've had my own Libre license since about 2007 and kept it up to date all these years and done mechanical design in that too. They're all pretty much the same.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm a CAD jockey, a really good one, but it's more, I know how to make teams more efficient, especially if you're using Altium and you have a bunch of users and you're like, why?
Oh yeah, you've done how many?
Yeah, like why are they so slow? Why does it take so long to bust a board out? It's like I could probably come in as a consultant and whip your team into shape and tell them this is the workflow you need to follow. If you do things this way, if you learn these shortcuts, I can help you set up so that your team's more efficient. So that's the kind
of... I can definitely vouch for you, Ben. Yep. Yep. Ben's the guy you want if you want to, if you want to streamline your design stuff. He can tell you how to do it.
Yeah. Thanks. I really, that endorsement coming from you, Dave, means a tremendous amount to me.
No worries.
So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Really enjoyed it. I mean, we could go for another hour, I'm sure.
Oh, easily.
Maybe we'll have to get you back on because, geez, that flew by.
It did.
Yep. Anyway, I will be on your and Bill Hurd's podcast. So do you guys call it a podcast or is it a
live?
Kind of a it's just a live hangout.
It's a live stream.
Live stream hangout. Yep.
I guess it could be a podcast, but it's really video focused. So we like to show things. Video, yeah. We like to show things. But every Friday, barring unforeseen illness, every Friday at 11 a.m. here in Los Angeles time zone, like Pacific time. I don't know what's that in Australia. It's wee hours of the morning in Australia. Sorry.
I'll have to figure it out. Maybe I can get up early.
Right now, it's probably not too bad because I think we're maybe 5 hours difference or something. But anyway.
Yeah, I've seen it, and it's a really good show, and you have guests on and stuff like that as well. So, yeah, it's definitely worth looking at.
Yep, and I'm super looking forward to you joining us maybe in a couple of weeks. That'd be amazing.
Pressure's on. No pressure. I've got to perform. I'll get my monkey suit on and we'll...
That'll be fun.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Ben. It's been good catching up.
Yeah, likewise.
After all these years. I mean, we haven't actually chatted voice to voice since Altium.
No, days, so... I know. It's been far too long. I'm sorry I didn't reach out sooner.
Nah, it's my fault too. Anyway, awesome. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Catch you next time.
Okay.